OnePlus 6, which is the speed you need. Let's find out if it's the speed you really need. And first off, starting off is with that price. Anyone that knows OnePlus is that they make flagship killer phones, basically phones with flagship features, but typical than your, let's say, typically cheaper than your average flagship device, which it still stands with that on the OnePlus 6, but the price has been creeping a bit since the release of the OnePlus 5, and now they're at $529, which is still not expensive, but a noticeable price increase, even for OnePlus, just saying. But the sales will start on May 22nd from 10 a.m. EDT time. So this device is going to be a fast phone, claiming to be the speed you need, running on a smooth looking OS, and also which is the Oxygen OS, which runs fast and smooth and still has a close to stock Android look. And they have optimized their operating system for the device, and it runs on a Snapdragon 845. Also, you get a performance by 30% increase and lowers power consumption by 10%, and you will also have fast charge as well, which they still say you get a full day's charge in just half hour actually. And we have more RAM here, and also gigabit speeds as well with dual SIM support. And yes, like I said earlier, it is power in half an hour. And the next thing to talk about is that display. The display is noticeably different. Now, it takes on the trend from what we've seen on the OnePlus 5T by making minimal bezels, but they went to reduce that bezel way more than on the 5T. But the notch, I have personally at the point where I would just stop fighting against the notch and just embrace it. Cause I mean, this is basically the future of smartphones until we can kill the notch with better technology. So, like it or not, the notch is here to stay. Hopefully not forever. But the display is a optic AMOLED display, and you also have a 18:9 aspect ratio thanks to that display size, and also you have full control gestures, which is something that some smartphones has been taken up ever since Apple did it with the iPhone 10, and even Google is adding that support to Android P. So it's a good take that we're seeing so far. And you also still have that familiar adaptive screen mode, where the screen adapts to whatever conditions you're under. Yeah, you also have default sRGB, etc. And you also have a dual camera, one being 20 megapixels and the other being 60 megapixels, both having the same aperture. You also have optical image stabilization, which is pretty okay on the OnePlus 6 so much in other reviews, and also slow-mo feature where you can record at 480 frames per second, and you can also record 4K at 60 frames per second, which is pretty great to have. I mean, smartphones are getting really good with the cameras now. And it also have the portrait mode, which, looking from these photos, it does good with telling the difference between hairlines and edges, and it really just sorts out the background difference between the foreground very well. And they also have built-in video editing, as well, which they claim to be professional video editing for everyone. And this is a sample shot of a photo that was taken on the OnePlus 6, and it has some good HDR here and good low light as well, and some good color contrast. And with contrast here, I mean, I've seen better contrast in my opinion, but it's still very good for a $529 smartphone. And also for design, we still have the headphone jack, we have a speaker at the bottom, and we still have a USB Type-C port. But the difference between this is the return of glass. OnePlus has finally brought back glass design ever since the OnePlus X, and this time bringing Corning Gorilla Glass 5, and also the glass is going to be curved and it's smoothly rounded corners as it has. And there are two colors. There's going to be mirror black, which is going to be one color, and a gold looking color as well, and the regular black color as well. And it is also water resistant, which is still very good to have on smartphones. And Oxygen OS, which will most likely be based upon Android Oreo, and still bringing that claim of less lags and more wins, which they still advertise it as a gaming capable phone. And you still have the alert slider, which is a very cool feature to have, and one of OnePlus's most popular features. And for the full specs, the display is 6.28 inches, 16 plus 12 megapixel dual camera, up to 8 gigs of RAM, and up to 256 gigs of storage. Dimensions include 155.7 in height, a width of 75.4, and a thickness of 7.75. You get 6 and 8 gigs of RAM. It weighs 177 grams. Colors equal mirror black, midnight black, and silk white. Oxygen OS based on Android Oreo, and an octa-core Snapdragon 845 processor, and a Adreno 630 GPU, and the battery is non-removable with 3300 mAh hours. It also has LTE connectivity support, Bluetooth 5, and it's NFC enabled. And the rear camera uses a Sony IMX519 with 16 megapixels and a pixel size of 1.22 mm. Has both OIS and EIS with aperture of f1.7, and the secondary rear camera, which is a Sony IMX376K, which is 20 megapixels, pixel size of 1.0 mm, face detection, autofocus, and same aperture, with dual LED flash, 4K at 30 and 60 fps, 1080p, and 720p at 30 fps. Slow motion 1080p at 240 fps and 720p at 480 fps. We also have project mode, pro mode, panorama HDR mode, and all that on the cameras. Also front camera is 60 megapixels with the same Sony sensor, but a IMX371, and it's 60 megapixels, and it can record 1080p video at 30 fps and 720p as well. And you can also buy the OnePlus 6, which will be available in the next 3 days. Just a reminder, I will leave a link in the description for you guys to buy it. And so that is it. What do you guys think about the OnePlus 6? And if you think it's really the speed you need, in the comments, like, share this video. See you in the next one. Bye.